Hello and welcome back, everyone. This is another episode of We Rise Fighting Labor podcast, bringing you today's labor news, labor history, analysis, thoughts on labor, seeing what's going on in the country, what kind of worker actions there are, which brings us to today's episode. We will be interviewing President Mahdi from UAW Local 180 in Racine, Wisconsin. And he will be letting us know what's going on with the strike that's been going on for months down there. As usual, it is myself, Rick Urrutia, today with my co-host,
Brian Pfeiffer,
saying what's up to you, and just bringing you, some labor news. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the interview and see what's going on with UAW Local 180 in Wisconsin.
All right. Thanks, Brother Rick. President Mahdi, we're very honored to have you on Re-Rise Fighting today. And, you've been out there for over 5 months. It's a long time to be out. And we started this show to build solidarity with locals and other workers across the country and around the world that are on strike or engaged in other labor actions. So first off, we wanted to send well wishes to yourself and your members there in Racine and also Burlington, Iowa, your sister local. And we're going to do everything we can to continue to build support for you. And we're honored to have you on the show today. We really appreciate it. So please tell us about yourself. Why did you join the union, and how long have you been president there in at Local 180?
So thanks for having me on. I've been a part of 180 for about 13 years. So when I got hired, Wisconsin was not a right to work state, so it was not an option on whether or not to join. That has since changed. So there is an option, so to speak, with joining the union. But I have been a part of 180 as long as I've been employed by CNH, which is about 13 and a half years. So I started off as recording secretary for a few terms, then became the vice president, and then got elected the president in 2020. So we have 3-year terms. My term will be up in 2023. So.
Okay. This local in particular has a fighting history. As we discussed before we started today, the UAW in Wisconsin, especially in Kenosha, Racine, Sheboygan, Oshkosh, and other places, Janesville, GM, has a long history in solidarity with other locals. And it's quite something to see Local 180 being out on strike again. I think back in the 40s, y'all were out for 444 days and won then. So we just wanted to begin by asking you, within this history and also locally today, why'd y'all go out on strike? What are the issues of the strike? Of the members, and give us a little information about that. We'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, so yeah, that 40 strike that you're referring to was about 2 years, and that was a very, from what I've been told, very violent strike, from the standpoint of setting cars on fire, flipping cars over, setting rail cars on fire. So that was a pretty, I would say, combative strike. So the last time we were on strike was in 2004 and 2005. So started off as a strike and ended as a lockout. Today, in 2022, we are currently on strike, just trying to achieve a fair agreement. In the area of Racine, there are a lot of manufacturers that are paying substantially higher wages. And so we are looking to get back to making case a career and not just a stopping point in someone's life for employment. In the 40s, there was about a 2-year labor dispute. It was rail cars that were set on fire, as well as personal vehicles, and they also flipped some of the personal vehicles over, from what I've been told from retirees. So in 2004 and 2005, there was a strike that ended in a lockout. At that time, that strike / lockout lasted about 5 months, and that resulted in 2 tiers being brought in. So that's what that was. So, which sucked. But here in 2022, we are just looking to get a fair agreement, fair wages, and really make this place back a career and not just a stepping stone to a better job. So,
Are y'all negotiating the tier system at all? Is that being addressed, or is that like can you speak to where that is, where that's at?
yes, we are definitely addressing the tiers in this negotiation. That's for sure.
Okay.
What are some of the other issues that the members voted to go on strike for that they were concerned about?
So capping the healthcare premiums, with the healthcare that we currently have, CNH is self-insured. So when I got hired at CNH, the healthcare premium, I believe, was maybe $17, something like that. Now it is at about $40. So at one point, case insurance premium was zero. So it was $5 co-pays, for doctor visits, things of that nature. But there was no deductibles coming out the check every week. So for family plan, the deductible is on average about close to $500 a month. So what Case was proposing was a out-of-pocket deductible of $6,800 for single and $13,000 for family plan. So that's what their proposal was with the insurance. But I don't want to get too far off track here. To answer your original question, wages, obviously, 401 pensions, the health insurance. There also are a lot of non-economic issues that the membership wants to address. One of them being the vacation, where the company can take up to 2 weeks a year of vacation. They wanted that addressed, as well as the vacation time off period, and also the personal days. So we have a vacation, and then we have personal days. They wanted the personal days increased, as well as adding sick days. Because currently we don't have sick days. You would have to use a personal day as a sick day if you wanted to be paid for that day.
So how many, can you explain to us how many and where the workers are actually on strike? We believe it's Racine, of course, and then Burlington, Iowa. Is there anywhere else? And what's the numbers for each local approximately?
So at Local 180, it's about 700. At 807 Burlington, Iowa local, there is about, I would say, a little over 400, maybe 450. So that's where we at with that between the two locals.
Okay. And what we've been paying close attention to some of the union solidarity activities that are taking place. I believe this Friday and Saturday, there's going to be another food drop off from the Milwaukee Area Labor Council, and your Facebook page is filled with a lot of different types of solidarity. You went out in May over the past 5 months. Can you describe some of that you've received and how that's going now? Thanks.
Yeah, so we have received several donations from the Milwaukee Area Labor Council, as well as some John Deere locals in Iowa. They have came and brought things for our food pantry. We received donations from all over in regards to whether it was monetary or actual donations for the food pantry. So we've also had members from the community, just regular citizens from the community, bring things for the food pantry. So we are totally grateful for everything everybody has contributed. So,
Okay, and if could you describe, just if anybody wanted, besides the workers, of course, wanted to go on the picket line or support you all, like the kind of a two-part question here: where would folks go if they wanted to go 24/7 or a certain amount of time to the to a picket line? Number one, and number two is what kind of support do you need in terms of concrete support, and where could a supporter give that uh, monetary donation or whatever other kind of donation it might be?
yeah, sure. The location in Racine is at 2701 Oaks Road, which used to be 7000 Durand Avenue. And you will see the picket line right there. It's a couple different locations at that location. Or I should say it's a couple of different picketing groups at that location. So we have one on the corner, we have one right at the main gate, and then we have a third one at the exit gate. So we have three picket locations on that campus where the plant is at. So in regards to how can people support, uh, they can always drop something off if they wanted to mail something. Also, if somebody is, I would say, in government, if they can put, pressure on CNH, if they have contracts with CNH to purchase, equipment, if they could put pressure on CNH to say, hey, look, we may have to rethink if we would like to renew our contract with you guys, since you guys are giving, the UAW such a hard time with reaching an agreement, that may sway the company to actually try and negotiate a fair contract. I see, vehicles or tractors, I should say, on the highway at times that have been purchased from CNH, as well as John Deere too, where, that type of pressure right there may be greater because I'm sure that they count on, those contracts being renewed in the future. And, when you have government, purchasing X amount of tractors, that can hurt them if that agreement is not renewed. So I kind of like to think outside of the box with what we can do to put pressure on CNH to get them to come to a fair agreement.
Well, you're in good company as far as thinking outside the box and trying to figure out how to put pressure on them, because that's what we're all about here. Um, so that being said, is the government the biggest contractor? Is the government CNH's biggest client, or are there any other private businesses that you could speak of, or any other pressure points that you can speak of?
The government, to be very transparent with you, I don't know who their biggest customer is. If I had to take a guess, I would say it may not be the government. I do know that there is a potato farm around Idaho that's a huge customer. There's also a sugarcane farmer down in Florida that's a huge customer that orders a certain amount of tractors every year, no matter what. So to say that is the government the largest, I'm not sure. However, the government, I'm sure, has gave incentives to CNH for various things. And, if they can't get those incentives anymore, that may get them to change their position. Because when you look at the grand scheme of things, what we asking for isn't much in the grand scheme of things. They are already paying other plants more money than they paying the represented facilities. So, I mean, there is no, as far as us asking for something that's astronomical or out of line, I would say is not the case here.
Yeah, no,
So
we're in agreement there. We Brian and I were checking out CNH's annual report from 2021, and I mean, this is their own words. Net income, which profits
Yeah.
were at 1.8 billion, which translates
Yeah.
to 1.2 $1.28 in earnings per share. Now,
Yes.
if they have the money to claim $1.8 billion in profits, they have the money to pay their workers a fair wage, offer them health
Yes.
care, give them sick days, give them personal days. So no, we're in agreement with all that. Yeah.
Yes.
So all right. So listen, one other. I just wanted to highlight something because we talked about it in passing. But if people want to contribute to the strike fund, what exactly is the best way to do that?
So there is a couple different ways. Uh, I believe probably the simplest way is if they just mail the check to the local would probably be the simplest way, so we can receipt that money in and we know where it's coming from and go about it that way. There are some other ways where they can send the money to Detroit or International, and they can put in the memo where they want that money to go, and it'll get to us once it gets processed in Detroit. So, unfortunately, I can't set up like a GoFundMe or anything like that with all of the rules and regulations that we have to abide by. I can't set an account up uh, in that form to receive donations. So,
Okay. So send the check directly to local 180 in Racine, Wisconsin, and that's easy to Google.
yes,
Yep.
yeah, and I can give you the address too. Also, just so there is no confusion. So the address is 3323 Kearney Avenue,
Okay.
and the zip code is 53403.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Brian, any more questions you would like to ask, or is there anything else you would like to say, uh, President Mahdi? Any messages to the workers out there? Considering struggling, considering going on strike, anything like that?
Yes. So, at the end of the day, the only thing that you have with against a company like CNH or any other company for that matter is withholding your labor. We are exchanging time for money essentially, right? And you can never get time back, so you have to make the best of the time that you have. And with that being said, you also want to make sure that you are being compensated fairly, especially for a corporation that's making billions of dollars. I mean, this isn't some mom and pop shop here. This is, a multinational company here. So, uh, the biggest thing is solidarity. You guys have whoever is planning to go out on strike or may go on strike. The biggest thing is solidarity. You have to remain solid with the rank and file. When the company sees that, they know they can't try and pull some underhanded games when they know that the membership is strong, because they will try and divide and conquer the membership, whether it be through sending out mailings, whether it be through putting some in the newspaper. They will try whatever they can to divide and conquer that membership. As firms, that's what their whole business is being hired by people like CNH to orchestrate these things. So I think the biggest thing is solidarity. You have to remain with a unified front when you do plan on going on strike.
That's right. That's right. It's beautiful, and thank you. Yes,
So,
Brian.
so I do have, so I do have some questions about next steps. I noticed that President Liz Schuler was the national AFL-CIO was at the Wisconsin AFL-CIO meeting Federation conference last week and mentioned UAW 180 and suggested to the delegates and the members of the locals of the Federation to support UAW 180 in any way that they can. Also, just asking you, like, what are some of the next steps? It is fall now. It's getting a little colder. And so, what are some of the next steps for 180 and maybe your sister local in Burlington in terms of solidarity or building more community support and of course, winning this strike?
So next steps, besides trying to reach an agreement, I would say is really keeping the membership informed about what's going on, being very transparent with them, so they know, you know, what has happened and what we plan on doing. So because one thing I've noticed is that in addition to having the membership uh, backing you, they also need to know what's going on, just so there can't be any room in there for the company to try and divide and conquer. So I believe transparency is key with the membership, so they know, hey, look, this is what you guys' demands are. This is what we brought forward to the company. This has been their response to these demands. These are demands that we may have reached an agreement on, and these are all the open items that we have that are you guys' demands that we are still pursuing. So I think having a meeting and relaying that information in that format uh, would be best. In addition to what you had asked about it getting cold and things of that nature, I would say at this point, uh, we probably need to prepare for making sure that we have our people equipped with whatever they need to sustain being on those picket lines once the temperature drops, if it takes that long. So we are, kind of caught. I don't want to say with our pants down, but so we aren't, blindsided by the weather conditions, because this could very well go into the winter. There's a strong possibility, and I think making sure that we have whatever we need, whether it's heaters or burn barrels or whatever we may need to withstand the weather, that we have it. So also, I think that another thing is probably really talking to customers and possibly dealers, and letting them know, why we are out on strike. Because I think sometimes there may be a misconception with what we are really out on strike for. Deere was on strike for about 5 weeks, and they achieved some great things in their negotiations. Uh, you know, I truly believe that if we got a Deere agreement, I don't think we would be on strike. So I think just communicating with everybody about what's going on and what we're looking to achieve, and getting backing from those people, I think that's going to be key here, because they can put the pressure on the company and say, hey, what are you guys doing? Why do I have to wait X amount of time for a tractor? And I don't know what that time frame is. They may be telling dealers, hey, we 6 to 9 months out or a year out. So once the dealers start losing sales to competitors, I think that may also put some pressure on the company too. So
For sure.
Just one question about clearing up. So you actually do the production of the tractors, and they get shipped to the dealers, and then they're sold from there. And is it uplift?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to clarify that. All right. And
yes. Because what happens, just to give you a little bit more on that, what happens is once the tractor gets shipped to the dealers, they do like a pre-delivery inspection before it gets turned over to the customer.
Okay.
So very similar to car manufacturing.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Okay, go for it, Rick.
Okay, that's what I had. If if you would like to make any closing statements, President Mahdi, but that's all I had for now, as far as catching up and getting acquainted with really what's going on the ground there.
Okay. I guess closing statements or remarks for me is first, I'd like to thank everyone that has supported us in any form or fashion. I also want to say to a couple other places that could potentially go out on strike, for instance, the railroad workers, um, whatever happens with that, I want to tell them stand strong, and Local 180 stands behind you guys. I believe the University of Wisconsin nurses came to an agreement, so I won't speak too much on that. But I do want to say, this is a fight. Whether people want to participate in it or not, you will be affected by it in some form or fashion. So either you can take the fight on and work on achieving what you think is fair, or you can sit back and wait till you will be affected by whatever company is trying to shove down your throats. Now, when there are better wages and compensation benefits that have been negotiated, that does carry out into non-union facilities. And I know some people think, hey, I don't really care about that strike. It's not affecting me. Indirectly, it is. Because when we win, everybody wins.
That's right.
So if there are places out there that don't have unions in them, trust me, they will do everything in their power to keep a union out. And what that means is this: they will make sure that the wages and compensation is either at least what a union shop is getting or better. So I want to make sure that everybody knows indirectly, when people go out on strike and are fighting for better wages and benefits, it does affect you. And I think sometimes that's a misconception that, that doesn't have anything to do with me and this and that. It does. You may not see it right now, but it does.
That's right. Well, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I can't close it any better than that. You're absolutely right. Solidarity to you, solidarity to UAW Local 180. Let's keep in touch as the struggle progresses. We hope
Thank you.
we hope to either report that the workers got a fair contract. If not, we'll also catch up with y'all once again to hear updates of what's going on. Does that sound good, President?
That's fine. That's fine. And if you guys want to make this, a weekly thing or bi-weekly thing, I have no issues with that. The more people I can get the message to, the better. Because I do see a lot of people rising up against these corporations with not trying to get necessarily rich, but just getting something that's fair, And I think that sometimes can be a misconception too with how the media puts things out. But I'm really starting to see a rise in all types of different places wanting to get organized. And people would not want to get organized if they were being treated fairly. That if people were getting treated fairly, there'd be no need for people to get organized. But there's a reason why they want to get organized, and 9 times out of 10 is because they aren't being treated fairly. And I want to also let people know that when you do try and get organized, those corporations will try to shut you down. And we've seen it where, for instance, with certain Starbucks locations, Amazon, those locations with specifically with Starbucks, when they say, hey, we want to organize, we want this, we want that, now they're looking at, okay, we may have to shut this location down. So to anybody out there that's looking to get organized, don't get discouraged when the corporation threatens to either terminate you, shut that location down. That's all a part of the game. You just have to be willing to outlast them.
That's it. Right on. Well, we're going to do everything we can to support y'all and also make these connections. A lot of great stuff going on in Wisconsin. There was a big